What is up, Misfits and Moonbasers? It's your boy Ray Recall coming at you again with another video review. And today we're going to be looking at something I've had for a while, just haven't had a chance to review it. So without further ado, here we go. We're going to be taking a look at the Transformers War for Cybertron Earthrise Leader Class Doubledealer. Yes. So this is a Leader Doubledealer. And pretty good figure, in my opinion. One moment. Let me see if I can fix something real quick. There we go. Sorry, I had to lift up the camera. So, as I was saying, this is a pretty good figure, in my opinion. Very nice. I'm glad to have gotten a Doubledealer. And, yeah, I'm really liking what they did with this figure, especially considering how he feels like a Leader class figure. A lot of the Leader class figures that we've been getting, like Shockwave, you know, Astro Train, Optimus Prime even, basically have been more like glorified Voyager class figures with extra stuff that makes it worth the Leader class price point, like for example Optimus Prime's trailer, Ultra Magnus' power armor, Astro Trains, guns and stuff. But with this guy, all of his accessories are minor. They're just extra weapons, extra little bits here and there. The actual figure itself is nice and solid. And for an example, let me just go ahead and remove all of his extra bells and whistles. And there we go. As you can see, even on his own, he is a much bigger figure than Optimus Prime is, or any of the others. And I really like that. I like the fact that we finally have a Leader class figure that feels like it's worth the Leader class price point. So anyway, go ahead and set Optimus off to the side right now and just get into the figure proper. So Doubledealer was one of those Transformers that came around near the end of G1. Basically what he was, as his name may suggest, a double agent. Now, the G1 figure was a Power Master. So you had two separate Power Masters. You had one for his Autobot mode, which was a robot, and you had one for his Falcon mode, even though it looked more like a Condor in my opinion. And basically what it was is that each Power Master, when plugged in, would allow him to achieve a different mode. So you had his vehicle mode, that was the missile carrier. If you plugged in Knock, he would turn into an Autobot, the robot. Or if you had the vehicle mode and you plugged in Scar, he would turn into the Decepticon Falcon. This retains part of that gimmick in that if you open up his chest, you can actually fit the Micromaster Spy Squad. So any of Soundwave's cassettes, or if you get the Generation Selects exclusive, it does come with a version of Knock and a version of Scar. In fact, if you see this little part right here, that gap is for this piece, which came with him, of course. It fills in that little gap. But it's a reference to the fact that Knock was the robot mode's abdominal piece, and you can actually take this and attach it to the back of Knock, which is pretty nice. It's got a little 5mm port there, but if you don't have them, it's easier just to leave it here. Now, this figure does something a little bit different. The only faction symbols that appear are right here in his robot mode, and you can either have him as an Autobot, or you can flip these panels over and have him be a Decepticon. Regardless of whatever, you know, faction or Micromaster you have plugged into the chest, you can have him as an Autobot or a Decepticon, and you can transform him into any of the three modes without having to shove a Power Master into some ports. So that's pretty nice. So I'm just going to get down into the figure proper. We're going to start off with this mode, go to the Falcon mode, and then finally end with the vehicle mode. So, here he is in his robot mode. Very nice. Very nicely done. Very accurate to G1. You do see that he does have a little bit of visible alt mode kibble for his Falcon mode, but it's played off pretty nice. And as I said before, you can have him as a Decepticon or an Autobot, which is pretty good. Head sculpt is very nice. Right there, love the fact that contrast with that sky blue in the face and the deep blood red for the eyes. And overall, nicely sculpted all throughout. The thing that I've liked about this figure is that in every mode, there is very good sculpting. So, and like even in the back of the chest compartment, you know, there's like wires and stuff like that and stuff. They didn't have to put that in there. I'm glad they did though. It's a nice touch. Articulation wise for this guy, his head is on a rotational joint, as well as a hinge that allows him to look down about that far and up not really much. Basically all it is so that he can get his head into his chest cavity whenever he transforms into his Falcon mode, but that's pretty much that. Arms can do a full 360 in and out. They do have a bicep rotation, double bend at the elbow, which means you get a full bend right there. Wrist rotation, really nice. You do have this wrist joint right here, but that's more for transformation. You do get a waist rotation, although the wing kibble does sometimes get in the way, so if you want to really access that, just flip that up, and then you have full rotation at the waist. Legs can do the full splits. You do have a bit of a thigh rotation right here. It's kind of limited, but you get what you need out of it. Just under 90 degrees of bend at the knee. Oh, by the way, legs can go forward that far and back that far, so you have a lot of range there. You do have a knee rotation, but that's more for transformation. And then you have a crazy ankle tilt. So, all in all, this guy is very, very posable. Now, for size comparison, once again, here he is with the Earthrise leader, Optimus Prime. Go ahead and, there we go. So, he's a very nice sized modern leader class figure. I really do like that. There we go. Now, in terms of accessories, since he is technically a mercenary, he's got a ton of accessories. So, let's just go through these, shall we? He does have a pair of grenade launchers with seven shots each. He has a small missile, or large missile, depends on who you ask. I'm guessing like a radar sensor array or something like that. A small caliber blaster. This thing, which is more like a piece of kibble, but it can be utilized in several different ways, so I'll let it slide. And then his BFG, which of course you can take the smaller missile, plug them together, and that forms the bigger missile. So, yeah. And he can incorporate all these weapons in a variety of ways, but we're just going to stick with... I'm just going to try to stick with the ones that I usually have him in. So, first of all, with this wing pack. Now, the way that this is sculpted is that it has a hinge that allows for this movement right here, and with a natural stopping point right there. However, because there is no pin that goes through this, it is just soft tabbed in there. You can flex it like that, And so what you do is you take it like this little panel back here, you want to lift this up, and you can see there are two slots right there that these two tabs are going to go into. So you just want to slide it in. I know that's off camera, but you'll be able to see what I'm talking about right here. See? Tap in just like so. And you can arrange these however you want, but aesthetically I think it looks best like that. So there you go. He does have two ports up here as well as two on the shoulders. Traditionally they want the smaller missile right there. Take his big gun, pop it in his hand, and then take his smaller gun. I always like to put it in his other hand. You can put it on his shoulders like the instructions, but what I like to do is I like to put this on his shoulder like that, and then you take the little grenade launchers and just plug them in to the sides of his legs. That's the configuration I'd use, but because this guy has so many weapon ports and so many weapons, there's no limit to what you can do with this guy in display options. Smoothie. Alright. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for this mode. So, really good robot mode, really like it, and you have a lot of versatility with it. Now, getting into these other modes, once again I said we're going to start with the Falcon mode. There is a bit of some clearance issues here and there, and I'll get into that. I'll get into each of these issues as we approach them. So what you want to do is you want to have the faction symbols up so that he's showing Autobot. You can put him back down in when you get him into his Falcon mode, but for now, transformation-wise, you want them up. And you have to have them up for whenever you go into the missile carrier mode. So what you want to do first is you want to take the hands and bring them back. And take the arms and angle them like so. Pretty simple. Let's see, next, there's a lot of stuff you have to do. Next, you just open up this chest piece and just leave it down for now. That'll give you some clearance. And then you want to take this back piece, straighten it out, and just leave it up for clearance sake. That also will help. Next, you want to take the arms, and you want to pop them out like so. You go ahead and continue rotating and orienting the arms just like this. I'll go ahead and remove this for now. It's just getting in the way. Next, you want to take these panels and open them like so. And then you'll see this little tab, or this little slot right there that this tab will go into. You just want to line that up. Takes a little bit of finagling, but you'll get it. There we go. Now you have those off to the side, like so. Coming to the wings, going to flip this down, open it up, flip this down, open it up, and just leave them out like this for now. Take this back panel, bring it down. You'll see the Condor head. And then you want to take this entire assembly and rotate it like this. By the way, whenever, and I'll go more into detail about whenever you're going into missile carrier mode, about the orientation of this and of the wings and all that. So you're going to want to rotate this entire assembly down like so. This tab is going to go into that slot, and that'll straighten everything out. Next, you can take the Condor head, extend it on this double hinge, and open the mouth if you want. You can fix all the fine-tuning of that later. Now we're going to come to the back of or the legs of the figure, which is going to become the back of the Condor Mode. Now this is going to be one of the trickiest parts in the entire conversion for both modes. Start off by taking the feet, opening them up. You're going to want to thread the thigh so that it's coming out this side, as well as the calf being rotated. So it is a little bit finagly the first time you do it, and there are some clearance issues. But basically, if the robot mode foot was like this, you want the wheels facing towards the back. I hope that is clear enough for you, because this is one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain, but once you get the figure in hand, it becomes much more easier to understand. So, like so. Now, this is very important. There's going to be this tab right here that will go into this slot right here. And in order to do that, you're going to have to feed the knee joint all the way so that it goes from on this side of this axle to this side. That is much easier said than done. The easiest thing that I have found is to hold each leg individually and just use your thumb to kind of feed the leg into the cavity. And it does sometimes take a bit of force, which does scare me, because I have heard some people say that there are stress marks on their figure. I don't like going into Condor mode because it is a little bit of a stressful conversion process and doesn't always like to be cooperative with me. But eventually, once you've worked through all your blood, sweat, and tears to get this done, you should be able to get everything lined up to the point that it will tab in. And as you can see, it's easier said than done. So let me go ahead and try to do this off camera real quick. There we go. So basically, you want the knee joint to be past this axle, as I said before. You want the tab to go into the slot, which you can see I've done on both sides. And then once all that's done, then you can just tab the front halves together like so. That is the easiest way to accomplish that, because if you have the legs tabbed together and then try to force it, you're going to have a bad time. So let me see what's next. So once you have that all said and done, take this little panel and bring it up. Take the chest piece and having it with the outside of the chest piece touching the smooth part of the back part of the figure. Just have it drop down like so. And then at this hinge, there's like a little slot that will tab over and just keep the chest piece from flopping around. Whenever you do put a figure in there, this also keeps the whatever Cassetticon figure or Power Master figure that you put in there from falling out, because it's a very loose fit. Then you want to take this panel, bring it back, and as you can see, there's a groove that will allow it to just gently tab into place. You can finally bring these arms assemblies down, like so. Take these panels right here, and those will extend into the bird feet on both sides. And then you can take the wings and spread them out, like so. And here you have the Condor mode. Now I know what a lot of you are going to say. This looks like a very poor Condor mode, especially considering the fact that there's whole pieces of kibble missing. For example, the bird tail feathers. Let me get into that. So, there's several things you can do with the tail feathers and the other accessories, but one thing I want to let you know is that you can actually use these without having to clip on the missile, which is what they want to do and want you to do in the instructions. What you can do is that there are these slots right here, not these tiny ones up front, but the ones that are right behind it, And you can have these peg in to those slots and have them have the tail feathers like that. That way, if you want to be G1 accurate, you can take these ports and have the missile underslung like the G1 figure, which is a nice thing that you can do. And of course you can always put all the other little odds and ends on there as well, but that isn't the coolest way you can do it. It also, by the way, frees up weapon port up here, but the way that the instructions want you to do it is they want you to take the missile and take the wing kibble and just tab them together like so. And it's not a perfect fit, but it fits on there. And then there's this clip, which will actually clip on to these front tabs right here. And so if you do that, let's go ahead and clip those on. There will be grooves in the tail kibble for the main body to go onto like that. And not only does that look a little bit more streamlined, but it is also a lot more solid, because the way that these would tab on their own, trust me, it was not going to stay. And then you can always do, of course, whatever you want to with the other components. You can take the gun, pop it down here if you want. Missile racks, you can have them plug into the side or wherever you want to have them. Probably be better if you could actually see that. You can take this piece or something, or plug in the guns in places, or the radar dish in places. You can figure out ways to store all the accessories. He's got plenty of storage options for them. So, but yeah, there you go. So this is his Condor mode, and I'm sure you can see why I considered it a Condor and not a Falcon. I don't know of any Falcons that look like that. But they did continue in with the same blue with his robot mode face with the red eyes. I think those are supposed to be light piped, but there isn't an actual spot for the light piping to go through, so it is a little bit of a lost opportunity. Huge wingspan. Sorry about that. I know that there was a bad angle with the camera, but like huge wingspan. Like standing next to Prime. Huge wingspan. So I do appreciate that. And I love how there's a lot more purple in this mode to show that he's supposed to be a Decepticon. And on that note, you can actually take the little flaps from right here and show that he is, in fact, in this mode, supposed to be a Decepticon. Which is nice that you can actually do that in this mode. So, yeah, there you have that. Now, articulation isn't much. His wings are on a very clicky ratchet. They do have this joint right here, as well as the wing feathers themselves being able to rotate up that high or completely fold flat. His neck is on a hinge, however it is a little bit slightly offset, as you can see. So it's more for transformation. He does have a double jointed neck. His mouth can open huge. And his legs can go forward and back, and his little toes can go down and up. So you can kind of have him, flying with his little feet up or whatever, or park him with his feet down or stuff like that. Limited posability options, but he is a very impressive presence. He does take up a lot of shelf space as well, because as you can see, yeah, he's a big bird. So there you have that. I think the Falcon is the weakest mode because it does just look like a folded up vehicle with some bird bits on it. But considering what they were working with from G1, I think they executed this very well. Especially considering how, the amount of parts forming was very minor. So that is appreciated. So anyway, speaking of that, let's go ahead and rip off all the parts forming and extra weapons and accessories and whatnot. And finally get him down to his final mode, which, in my opinion, is the most cohesive because it looks more like it could stand on its own as it's an actual vehicle. So what you want to do is start by putting up the legs, untabbing this little bit here, just bringing these parts to the side, opening up the back, and as I had mentioned before, there's a certain way that you want to orient this. So you want to go ahead and compress the head and neck, and then you want to rotate it so that, because there was that little offset where the neck rotation was, you want it so that it'll be flush. Because if you do it this way, it's not even going to rotate all the way around, see? So there's only really one way it can be rotated, and that's like this. So go ahead and feed that through, collapse that down, and then just keep the wings out of the way for now. We're going to once again want to untab all this back section. And this time you're going to want to feed the legs out so that that tab, instead of going into the gray part of the body, it actually goes into this part, this little slot in the leg. So you do have to extend things out a little bit. Kind of have to push things out of place and then reorient and get everything resituated. Just like that. So for the bird mode, you want it as compressed as it can. For the missile carrier mode, you just want to have it slightly more extended. But there are locking points that keep everything in place. So go ahead and do that again for the other side, like so. And then just tab everything back together again. This little panel, you can go ahead and put it back down. And then as for the chest piece, you want to rotate it 180, and then these little tabs will go into little slots right there. So there you go. That locks that into place. Since this is all taken care of now, you can actually go ahead and fold up the wings. You always want this wing to be folded down first, because of the way that's molded, otherwise it won't actually fold down flush. Split these panels. You can go ahead and drop the wheels back into place. And then collapsing the arms up onto the top of the vehicle mode, you want to, well, actually first you want to rotate it so that the hinge is facing this way. There's going to be a tab and a slot. And then you want to just compress that down. So go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And finally, this little bit is actually going to go up over his head and face. And there you have the vehicle mode all done. And of course, there's more that you can do with it, of course, with all the kibble and whatnot. So going ahead and getting into that real quick, you can always take this component right here. There are two tabs, two ports, and you just tap it in right there. Take the little signal receiver, pop it up top. Take the gun, pop it up top. Take the little missile, grenade launchers. Pop them into the sides here, there, wherever you want. You've got a lot of options with this figure. Because there are ports and posts and all kinds of stuff all over the place. If you want to take this little piece and just pop it back where it was. And then, finally, take the big missile. Pop it right into its place. Fold this up. Fold that up. And there you go. Now you have a weapon of war. So, this is Doubledealer's final mode. It's his missile carrier mode, and I absolutely love this thing. Here's a quick size comparison with Optimus Prime, and yeah, you can see why I love this thing as a leader class figure. Also, I'm running low on time, so I'm going to make this as quick as I can. So, yes, basically, this figure has all the heft. It's really solid. It looks the most consistent. You know, it's even got the little extra feature where you can have fire off a ballistic missile. So, yeah, I really like this figure and everything that they've done with it. Don't really have much time left. So, for closing thoughts, Doubledealer, is it worth picking up? Yes. Is he a worthwhile leader class figure? Yes. He actually feels like you're getting the value that you're paying for when you're paying for a leader class, or when you want to pay for a leader class figure. Availability. I was able to pick them up at retail. I know that a lot of online retailers are also still selling him as well, so that's probably even a better bet because I only ever saw him once. And does he look good with the other figures? He looks good on an Autobot or a Decepticon shelf, in my opinion. So, anyway, that's all the time I have left. Really need to get editing software. So, this has been the review for the Transformers Earthrise Leader Class Doubledealer. I'm Ray Recall. Y'all are awesome, and I will see y'all in the next review. Peace.